right, everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for stopping by. Today we are in Eric's truck, physically doing kind of a driving actual review, so bear with me on the bumpy ride that you probably are gonna have. It is an older truck, it is what it is, and it's kind of snowy out right now. So bear with us on the review, bear with us on everything we're doing, because we do have to kind of mainly focus on our driving that we did not plan for. But I do want to cover, we did ball joints, tire rods, wheel bearing, steering stabilizer, and those bump stops. So with all that said, we went ahead and, you know, Eric got his alignment that he was supposed to get after his ball joints and his tire rods. We did the wheel bearings then as well. You guys definitely go ahead. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I leave the link in the description below for all of those videos. The ball joints, the wheel hubs, the tire rods, the bump stops, and the steering stabilizer that you guys just watched this last Monday night. So make sure you guys go ahead and check those videos out if you have not already. But one thing I want to ask Eric is if he actually sees a difference in the steering.
When I first got this truck, it was kind of sloppy. It rode rough. I thought it was body mounts, and I shocks, so I put new shocks in, and I still wasn't happy. It was still really rough, and I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, and the roads aren't exactly the greatest. Well, once we changed the ball joints and the wheel bearings and the steering components, I mean, to say night and day difference is an understatement. It smoothed everything out of it. That's what was messing up my ride the entire time.
Now, one thing I want to ask you is the bump stops. Is there actually a difference in the bump stops? A lot of people, you know, kind of shove those off. They don't really pay attention to it too much. Nobody really talks about it. Did you see a difference in after we installed the bump stops? Because we actually installed all the other stuff well before the bump stops.
It smoothed it out a lot. And when you first put me onto that, I was like, well, bump stops, like on my other vehicles, they don't connect to the suspension until something drastic happens. I didn't realize until we changed them that your control arms actually sit on those bump stops, and that's an active component in the suspension. It's actively working right now while I'm driving.
Right, so for instance, right now we're driving down the road, and every single little bump you hit, the lower control arm is supposed to be sitting on that bump stop. So every little bump you hit, the bump stop's gonna absorb some of that shock, as well as your shock absorbers. Now, Eric's running Bilstein 4600s?
Yeah.
Bilstein 4600s on his truck, and I'm pretty happy with him. I know he's very happy with them. We did that a long time ago, and because at first we thought that was the biggest issue when it came to his suspension, and lo and behold, between the ball joints and the steering stabilizer, not the steering stabilizer, the ball joints and the bump stops, it made a massive difference. Now, I personally haven't necessarily drove his truck since we did all that stuff, which I will do after this, and we'll see you guys back in the garage after I drive it. But in regards to the steering stabilizer, he has a 5100 series steering stabilizer. Did you, Eric, see a difference in the steering stabilizer, and as well as a lot of people claim that it pulls your truck right pretty drastically? Did you notice any of that? Like, did you notice that it pulled it to the right at all? And if it didn't, did you notice a change in your steering?
It doesn't pull. It doesn't pull one way or the other. I can let go and I'm still just as true as I ever was going on the road. But it does, I don't get the kickback. Like I said, I have bumpy roads, so it's not as jerky as it used to be. Right,
so the one thing that, if you haven't seen that video that we did, his steering stabilizer wouldn't recover at all, and that's something that is, again, a lot of people don't necessarily talk about when talking about steering components, because everyone likes to talk about tire rods. Well, there's a lot more to these components, to these steering systems, this IFS system, than just tie rods and idle arm and pitman arms. So with that being said, I'm gonna hop in Eric's truck here. We're gonna stop at this stop sign. I'm gonna hop in his truck. I'm gonna take it for a drive, and we'll see you guys back at the shop in a little bit. All right, so I know I said I was gonna meet you guys back at the shop, but I had to hop on and just say this right away, because in comparison to my truck versus Eric's truck, we lowered Eric's truck. If you guys don't know that already, we put McGaughys, I think it's 2-inch or 3-inch drop shackles in the rear, and then those 4600s, like I said before, and it rides very, very smooth. Now, I will say one thing when it comes to the steering: it is very tight, it is very nice, but there are 3 major components that we still are gonna put on his truck, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Those videos are coming in the future. We have to do a steering gearbox, we're gonna do his pitman arm, as well as his idler arm and idler arm support. So make sure you guys stay tuned for when we do those installs. I'm very excited about it, because realistically, his whole entire front end, besides realistically his steering shaft, is all gonna be upgraded, and it's nice, you guys. I can't express enough how nice his steering is, is compared to mine. So we do have a lot of work to do on my truck coming up here in the future, and as well as Eric's. So I'll meet you guys back at the shop here.
Actually, a decent truck now. Yeah, instead of being a masterpiece.
A lot of things are piled.
There was definitely a lot of
Regret?
oh dude.
Lots of regrets. You had to believe, you had to trust me though.
I did trust you. I wrote it out the whole way. There was definitely a lot of there was what happened? The last big one. So the turbo went out. There was something else where I was just like, I don't remember what it was. Or was it just the turbo?
It was just you were freaking out the turbo for like months.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh. Yeah, it was like official. It was like the next day after I got home. I was like, it's really fun. I was like, I should just sell it.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, I'm glad you trusted me though.
I did. I wrote it up.
So one thing I want to talk about now that we're back here in the garage, Eric's truck is obviously out there, is the progression of the paperweight Duramax. When we got this thing, if you haven't seen that video, along with all the other ones I've mentioned already in this video, man, we had an H of a time with that truck. It had a blown turbo in it that they were hiding on us. It had a whole bunch of different stuff that was going wrong with it. We took care of all that stuff. Those of you know, he has my 64 millimeter turbo from Lincoln Diesel Specialties. I upgraded to a 68 millimeter turbo. You know, we did all this front suspension work. We did the front steering work with more to come. We dropped it down a little bit to get a better ride height, and because he kind of wanted to be able to just step into his truck instead of hop into it like we all have to do, like I have to do. And trust me, it's a little frustrating, especially because I don't have any side steps anymore. But the progression from that truck to now is absolutely insane, and it just shows you guys that yes, if you buy a Duramax, if you buy a truck, a used truck with almost 300,000 miles on it, there are going to be issues with it, and some of them may be really drastic, like the turbo issue. Some of them may be minor. Some of them may be drastic, like you need a whole new front end. This truck needed everything. But you know what? It was a rancher's truck. It's rust-free, and it's a really nice truck now, and I guarantee you right now, I don't think Eric ever wants to get rid of it just because you're not going to find anything right now for what he paid for it and what we have invested in it. Even say we invested $2,000 or $3,000 into parts in this thing already, which we definitely have, because obviously you mentioned the turbo. Say we've got $4,000 into it. We still got such a good deal on it when we bought it that we still would not be able to find what we have right now after building it up. So if you're willing to build your trucks up on your own, save your money on labor, spend the cost on the nicer parts because you are saving your money on your labor, you can have yourselves a really nice truck. So that being said, thank you for watching this video. A little bit review on the steering components and the suspension components that we did. We've got a lot more coming, you guys, so make sure you guys stay tuned for everything we have coming. I appreciate all you guys subscribe to the channel, and have yourselves a great night.